They've continued to work and grow and implement their program and are setting the foundation for what they want to get accomplished here over the next couple of seasons.
I think one of the most intriguing teams this offseason is the Miami Dolphins.
The Dolphins have the capital to do whatever they want.
They're competing and building a culture.
I believe in team. I would say that. If you want to strive to do something great as a group, you got to work together.
You have a plan, you stay true to the plan, you execute the plan. The Dolphins, this is how you turn around a franchise, like this.
We're trying to build a team that's going to win right now, and we'll be very aggressive.
Welcome to the field, your Miami Dolphins.
We're looking for guys who are tough, who are smart, who are competitive, love to play.
They have landed some big fish. Love what the Miami Dolphins did. You're trying to build something there.
Fitzpatrick throws to the end zone. It is Parker. Darnold never saw the pressure coming, and he is leading. Gesicki wide open. Touchdown. Let's have some fun and play together, man. Win on three, win on me. 1, 2, 3, win.
If you can get a group of young men to band together, to believe in one another, to practice and prepare at a high level, then you'll win ball games.
Big man, touchdown, picked off by Bobby McCain.
What's good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and I'm back here for another one, and I'm starting to turn into legit the Marino of this ish, holding down this franchise alone, while Rhino and Havoc are turning into my Marx brothers over here, because I don't know where the Jason Taylor to my Zach Thomas has been lately.
I'm super duper.
Damn. That's on it first.
Fins up.
You can have it, though. You can have it, man. You can have it, man. They're both good choices.
What's good, boys? How you guys doing tonight?
Man, you already know what it is, bro.
11 days.
You already know what it is, man. You know, Fins up all day, every day.
And Jason Greaves thinks I'm gonna lose it tonight. maybe we'll talk about that later. Maybe not. I haven't seen anything, but I've heard it from more than a handful of people. So fun stuff. I mean, can we really be taking someone seriously like that's saying those kind of things right now? But we'll get into that later.
No.
Potentially, if EM shows up, I'm sure he'll have something to say about that. But until then, I guess y'all are hyped up before we went live, hyped up about the Heat game, huh?
Man, I mean, y'all see what we're brewing up down here in Miami with this Heat culture with Pat Riley, the Godfather, letting y'all know where to set up shop. It's like I said, Eastern Conference Finals is a given, in my opinion, for this team.
It looks that way.
Yeah, it's getting four games against the Heat. That's a tough defense.
I didn't think you guys would be handling them this easily.
Well, it was a tight game today.
Well, in terms of being up 2-0 right off the bat, bro.
Well, you know what? I mean, the Pacers never really had a chance against us in the first round. So
yeah, but I mean, there's no Giannis. You know what I mean?
True. I mean, it's really about the role players coming together, because we all know what Giannis can do.
Boy Jimmy. I'm
telling you, man, being tough matters. Bro. Chemistry matters.
This team is built for the bubble. It's built for the bubble.
Let's be honest. My team's tough, and my team's got chemistry, but my team's just there's more talent spread around, I think, on the Celtics as opposed to the Raptors right now. So
yeah, y'all are missing.
And let's be honest.
Y'all are missing someone from last year.
And yeah, let's be honest. We got rid of DeMar DeRozan for Kawhi, basically because he was the small forward shooting guard version of Kyle Lowry in terms of you ain't putting the ball in their hands to win the game in the last few possessions, bro. let's be honest, they haven't proven that they can take. It took Kawhi. Look at how we beat Philly, bro. Look what it took Kawhi doing, right?
And let's be honest. I mean, y'all caught Golden State on 2 torn ACL.
I'll take that though. I'll take that, bro. Don't even take away from that, bro.
Bro, you can have it.
You know what?
I take it too.
Because you know what I got last year? Look at this as a sports fan. You can really say the Raptors kind of ended that whole dynasty. And on top of that, the Dolphins, Fitzpatrick specifically, and Gesicki, they kind of put that nail in the Patriots dynasty and closed the coffin, and Ryan Tannehill just kicked it into the hole, right?
And ex-Dolphin.
You gotta love it, man.
Dolphin synergy all over.
Yeah, there you go.
You gotta love it, bro.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to seeing what New England has cooking up. You know, they just released Sanu today, so who knows what their wide receiver core is shaping to be.
Okay, so let's talk about this quickly, guys. If you haven't heard, I'll put it up here in a second. It seems like Leonard Fournette is going to be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. But my thing was, if you heard earlier in the day, because the two teams that I theorized, I was with you on the Buccaneers. I was also theorizing the Patriots. And then I even reinstilled both those teams yesterday on the Gridiron Brawl over on Brawl Network. And then those are the two teams that emerged today as having the most interest. And I thought them clearing $6.5 million by moving Mohamed Sanu. I was like, you know what? This guy's either working for Leonard Fournette or Jadeveon Clowney.
Right.
I mean, I'll just say, you know,
because they got Cap, man.
I'll just say, I mean, when Leonard Fournette was released, I came out here and I let y'all know he can ship out. He can turn out to be the LeGarrette Blount punch that Tampa Bay is looking for, because currently on their depth chart, Ronald Jones is slotted to handle most of the carries. So you already know LeGarrette Blount's Leonard Fournette is gonna come in and you know bring the hammer and look to turn Ronald Jones into a bit player on that team as long as he's healthy.
I think he's going to be more than that, bro. I think he's going to be the full 3-down back, bro.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be the legitimate feature back there, man. And then Ronald Jones and LaShawn McCoy and then Keshawn Vaughn will split the rest of the carries behind him. I mean, you know, he's coming off an 1,100-yard season with a mediocre at best offense. You know, everyone wants to say, I don't understand. He's only played 3 years. Everyone wants to call him washed up, yet 2 of those 3 years he had over 1,000 yards rushing, bro. I don't get where this notion's coming from. He's think of because guys, it's up there right now from Ian Rappaport. Leonard Fournette, Tom Brady, they drafted Tristan Wirfs. Okay. They've got OJ Howard, Gronkowski, Cameron Brate, Mike Evans. They added Tyler Johnson, who was a red zone threat in Minnesota, and they got Chris Godwin, bro. And I know Tyler Johnson's banged up right now, but he'll get healthy and he'll get acclimated.
Chris Humphries too.
Yeah, man, bro. That offense is legitimately stacked
up. Yep, ready to go. I mean, that is a team. Clearly, when you bring on Tom Brady and you bring on Rob Gronkowski out of retirement, and then you bring in Bruce Arians as a head coach, you already know what time it is. And Leonard Fournette just seals the deal for me. Clearly, they are positioning themselves to be like in the Super Bowl. Like that is their objective for this season. Anything less than that,
it all rides on Brady's arm.
I mean, to be honest, it's probably all gonna ride on their running game. They're probably gonna have to lean. We know we've seen the past few seasons, New England has leaned heavily on that running game with Tom Brady as an extension of the running game. So
I'm telling you, man, one of my breakout candidates this year. I got a couple. You guys can hear me. We talk about them consistently over on the Gridiron Brawl. But I mentioned them a couple weeks ago, man. I'm telling you, this is setting up for OJ Howard to have a huge year if everything goes right, man. It's gonna be, you know, and I agree with Mike Pellegrino right now in terms of Gronkowski seems to be healed and hungry. I mean, that year off I mean, you can get another year out of his body thanks to him being off for as long as he was off, I think.
Yeah. It's interesting because we know what Brady can do with two.
And he's still a great blocker, bro. He's still a great blocker.
Yeah.
Right? Like, even with the back problems, he's still a great blocker.
He's basically another offensive lineman right there as well. So, you know, and then you give him another receiving threat at the tight end position as well. I mean, it's they got something brewing up in Tampa Bay right now. That's all.
Yeah. I'm not as high on them as you guys are.
And here's the other thing. The experience he'll be able to give off to guys like Cameron Brate and O.J. Howard in that position.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, man, they are very, very deep on offense, and then they're no slouch on defense. They got some good players on defense as well, especially in that linebacker core. Yeah,
Vita Vea, you get a whole year out of him.
Levante David is a tackling machine.
Yeah, they're. I mean, clearly, like I said, when you sign Tom Brady, it's similar to like when Denver brought in Peyton Manning. It's like, hey man, you know the vibes.
And you know who's apparently been making plays in camp? Me and EM's boy Antoine Winfield has apparently been showing up and showing out in 11-11s. So I think they're gonna have something special.
Man, I was really.
So what do you guys think? Second, first, third seed? What do you think?
Man, I think they're
gonna challenge for the first seed probably.
I say third or fourth. I think they're gonna struggle at the beginning of the season to get it right.
I think a lot of teams are going to struggle in the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I still think it's Seattle. I think it's Seattle and San Francisco, but
Saints.
I think that, you know what? I think they are. I think this team's better than the Saints, bro.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because the Saints have just been running that same system forever.
I think they have a better defense.
Yeah, like you already know the vibes. You already know the vibes when it comes to the regular season and the Saints. You know you're gonna get your 11 to 12 wins out of them,
right?
So, well, you know, Tampa Bay could come on the scene. I mean, it's a situation where,
well, I mean, look at it. Let's be
all
honest.
The pieces, like you look at the paper, all the pieces are there.
It's only going to come down to them or Saints for the division because they're way better than the Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're way better than the Atlanta Falcons. Let's be honest, too, right? So, what I mean. You know, I mean, and let's be honest, Breeze got hurt last year, right? You know, outside of Michael Thomas, they have a disgruntled running back, it seems right now. I mean, he showed up today at practice, but there's something going on there.
I mean, it seems like a lot of running backs, he's trying to get his money before something happens. Because you know, they will devalue a running back in a flash in this league. So,
like a Pinto.
Yeah. I mean, you saw Todd Gurley went from being the highest paid running back in history to a guy looking for a job on the Falcons right now.
3 million, 4 million, I think, something like that.
Something like that.
Very small.
It's real fickle. So I mean, you can only for a guy of his skill level, it's to be expected in my opinion.
It's a passing league.
Yeah, I mean, you know that he wasn't going to come out here and just ride out the contract. You know, anyone with their salt, anyone with a Pro Bowl or All-Pro type numbers is going to ask for a new contract.
Right.
So they had to have seen this coming. Now the question is, do the Saints have the money allocated to keep him in the fold? I think they'd be fools to let him go, but they are apparently in the business of letting him go. So. You know, my take is if the Dolphins can come up with a compelling package, why not?
And here's my thing: you're about to pay like Taysom Hill $21 million next year, and you don't want to pay Alvin Kamara 14. You know, because from what we'll get into the Alvin Kamara thing right now. Then before we get into the Dolphin stuff,
okay.
The word right now is they're sitting at about Joe Mixon, about 12.5 million. Kamara is looking for more around what McCaffrey's making in the 15 to 16 million.
I mean,
my thing here is Zeke, who makes 15, Christian and Kamara are the same player to an extent, but this is where they separate. Christian McCaffrey can give you 20 to 25 carries while you only want about 15 to 18 from Kamara. And then Christian McCaffrey can give you 10 to 15 targets, whereas you're only going to get about 8 to 12 out of Kamara. So there's more production just based off of opportunities because Christian McCaffrey is built for 16 games at having his body banged around at that kind of workload. Kamara hasn't shown he can be, but this is kind of why I think he does fit well with the Dolphins. And I would be willing to entertain if he was willing to accept 13 to 14, because obviously you're going to have to come in higher than the 12 million that the Saints are currently offering. I think he's a perfect complementary piece to Jordan Howard. I think, I said this before we went live, you give Kamara that 15 to 18 carries, you give him 8 to 12 targets. You're trying to hit around 27 to 30 between carries and targets, and then you give Jordan Howard, kind of reverse it a little bit in terms of you're giving him probably 9 to 12 carries, and then you're giving him probably about 3 to 5 targets. And that's how you blend those two up.
It's a very interesting situation. I think particularly, right now, we think Preston can break out, but the only stamped and certified weapon on offense in terms of a game breaker type is Devontae. And if you can give a guy coming out of the backfield in terms of the amount of targets per game, I mean that could be a dynamic in our offense that we could actually build on. Kamara is far from old. He's coming up on his second contract right now, so once again, a rebuilding team with assets.
He's 26.
Yeah, I mean, once again, a rebuilding team with assets. Is Alvin Kamara that guy that's gonna, hold it down for us, that running back position for the next, would seemingly be 3 to 4 years? Talent-wise, yes. I think, he had earlier durability concerns, but I think maybe you got to invest the money somewhere. And if Kamara's on the market and you can get him at a good deal, particularly, if the Saints aren't going to sign him to a long-term deal, man, I'd love to see him here.
I'd be willing to part with a second and fifth at most. I just think he's such a scheme fit for what we're going to want to do when Tua takes over this offense. That's why. You didn't hear me high on this on Fournette or anyone else, right?
Yeah.
He's the guy who I'm high on in terms of, but I think this is what's going to hurt his value of, wanting to be paid is all the guys who are going to be hitting the market next year, right? You look beyond the draft class of guys like Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, Kenneth Gainwell, those guys being in there. But you also got to look at who's going to be hitting free agency. Kenyon Drake, right? Todd Gurley, Tevin Coleman, James White, Breda's going to be up. Hunt's going to be up. Dalvin Cook is about to be up. Aaron Jones and Christopher Carson, who I think could only end up making $8-9 million, but could end up being steals because it's not that they can't carry the workloads. They haven't been given the opportunity to. Phillip Lindsay's going to be a free agent, so there's some big names coming out there. And honestly, if we're looking at free agency or the draft next year, Christopher Carson and Aaron Jones are very, very intriguing options for me at what the cost would be, because Aaron Jones especially. I mean, I don't know why he has not been featured more in Green Bay. I mean, that guy, I can name on one hand, multiple times last year where he made big catches, not runs, but big catches in primetime games. Not even just on Sundays. Aaron Jones is a baller, but again, he's kind of fallen into that Marino syndrome where Green Bay is a very pass-heavy offense. They want to throw 30, 40 times with Aaron Rodgers, whereas over here with Tua, I think the goal would be throw 20 to 25 times.
Yeah, I would think so. I think particularly lately, it hasn't been a kind market to running backs holding out. Melvin Gordon, he tried holding out with San Diego. They're like, you can stay there. Yeah. And then he eventually broke and started playing again. So, clearly, if Alvin Kamara is not like holding out, like it appears he wants a new contract or he wants to get traded. Like I don't. It doesn't look like he's going to really try and hold out. So, like I said, if Miami come with a compelling package, I mean, you essentially, not to say that there's a question there with Jordan and Breda, but if you have Kamara, and it's signed, sealed, and delivered, what the running back situation is going to look like for the next 3 years or so. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens, because whoever trades for him is going to have to give him a contract basically off the bat as well.
So what do you think about what Great One talked about today? He talked about sending a second and Breda.
He would essentially replace Breda in the offense. So,
right.
I mean, I don't have an issue with that. That in the second, I mean, you're talking about a guy.
We got 2 seconds anyways, right?
Well, no, you're sending them you're sending them back their second round pick that you have from them.
Essentially, you're talking about a guy that has the ceiling to give you Pro Bowl, All Pro level production at that position. So,
I like our running back room. And I know what Reason is saying. When you guys are saying it's an improvement, a big improvement, and he should be really good with the offense. But is there anyone comparable coming out next year? Or
I'm not going to sell the farm for him. I'll say it like that. I'll make a justifiable offer, but I'm not going to sell the farm for him.
Right? The guys who you're going to want next year are like, Dalvin Cook. You're going to have to pay up, right?
Yeah.
I would rather draft Kenneth Gainwell out of Memphis in the draft. I'd rather go with instead of breaking, like, if you're going to give me an Aaron Jones or Christopher Carson at 8-9 million, let's talk. Okay. But I'm not going to break the bank. That's why I was saying Alvin Kamara, the reason why I'm willing to sit here and talk 13-14 million is because I think schematically for what we're going to want to do, he's perfect. You know what I mean? He's kind of like, he's kind of what Travis Etienne is at the collegiate level, but he is that at the NFL level. Whereas Etienne, with any draft prospect, you don't know if they're going to translate.
Where's he going to go projected at the end?
First round, probably.
Yeah.
Mid, late.
Probably later because he's a running back.
I don't know, man. There's a lot of talk right now about him going pretty high. Okay. I'm seeing a lot of like top 15 talk about him because I think he would have. I think based on Clyde Edwards-Helaire going number 1, I think Travis Etienne would have won number 1 if that's what they were looking for.
Okay, that's what's up. I mean, like I said, if you can start with.
But I'm telling you, Kenneth Gainwell.
Yeah,
that's the dude, bro.
If you can give to a guy of that skill level to lean on, I mean, I think that's worth his weight in gold. I would think so. Like I said, I wouldn't sell the farm for him. I'm not talking about first round picks or anything like that. But if a second and Breda is something that I don't think a whole lot of the fan base would be up in arms about to get Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, no, it just would have to be at the right price, right?
Yeah, because you got to give him that contract right away too. So you basically got to pre-negotiate the contract and make the trade.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So let's get into some things from today. We'll get into roster moves before we get into just some other news and notes and a highlight that came out of training camp today too as well. So there were some roster moves today and yesterday. We'll start off with yesterday's. So the Miami Dolphins started cutting down. They waived Jeremiah Dinson, Avery Moss got cut, and Dietrich Nichols. They also released Ricardo Lewis. And as you guys remember, Avery Moss and Ricardo Lewis were both on the roster to start training camp, were cut, brought back, and cut again. So kind of really no surprise there, but we'll talk a little bit more about it because the final one came today. It was rumored yesterday, and then it came through today that the Miami Dolphins did release Chester Rogers. So another receiver. So this is what I got to say. And I brought it up a few times before. Okay, so they just released Ricardo Lewis. They just released Chester Rogers. When we signed them, I on here said they're both going to be nothing more than camp bodies. I also said, guys, read into this, okay? You know, they released them, guys who have been on the roster. Ricardo Lewis. They released a guy like Ricardo Lewis had been on the roster since last year before they wanted to get rid of any of the UDFAs. Now you got Chester Rogers, who, let's be honest, too, guys, Kirk Merritt has been out for about 6 practices now. He hasn't been released yet. Okay. Matt Cole, from when we were getting full, like 10-15% of what was going on in training camp, Matt Cole kind of flashed a few times, right? Gary Jennings flashed a few times with the 2s and 3s early on, but then went silent, especially in week 2. Again, especially in the last week, guys, Chester Rogers and Ricardo Lewis were consistently showing up in a positive light in training camp reports. I mean, Ricardo Lewis is the one who caught Josh Rose's touchdown in 11-11s at Hard Rock, right? Okay, so let's put this into perspective. Guys who have been flashing clearly just got cut, while UDFAs like Matt Cole and Gary Jennings, who was brought in, he's not a UDFA, but he's brought in, right, because he was from Seattle. And then you got Kirk Merritt, who's been out for 6 practices. They're not even getting touched. Now, obviously, they could be wanting to slide them to practice squad when the cuts come on Saturday, when they cut down to 53, right? They could be just, okay, we're going to slide them to the practice squad right away. But does that not say that, whether it's been in pads or before that, they've clearly seen something from Merritt, Cole, and Jennings for them to outlast guys who were just flashing when they were since they've been brought back in Ricardo Lewis's situation and brought in Chester Rogers' situation? What is it? What do you guys say about this? Because I've kind of been theorizing this going back to when Ricardo Lewis originally got cut. Like, where are you guys standing? Is this puzzling to you guys? Like, are you guys wondering yourself, because we don't have all the knowledge and the availability, what are they seeing? Like, have they seen something? Because I'm starting to be in the belief that they've clearly seen something that has said, hey, these guys are worth more of the investment, even the guy who's just missed 6 practices, as opposed to the guys who are flashing in training camp reports.
Yeah. I mean, this tells me a couple things. One, first of all, to address the players that are cut. These are all players I think we expected to be cut. And we also said when the injuries started, piling up in training camp, that it's very likely they'll bring back guys that are already familiar with the system. And they're not necessarily bringing them in as guys to challenge, but guys to fill out the practice rotations. I'll say it like that. Now, in terms of the wide receiver core, or just in general, the guys we cut, they don't bring back Avery Moss to see what else Avery Moss has left in the tank. They know what he brings to the table. Same with Ricardo Lewis. But
I'll say, okay, so I'll say to you in rebuttal to that.
Yeah.
It looks like Trent Harris might be sticking around, and they brought him back.
Well, there may be a situation where they may want to take a longer look at a guy like that. But I think, when you're looking at it, would you rather have what Ricardo Lewis is going to give you, or would you rather have what Kirk Merritt can potentially give you? Like, we are still rebuilding. We are still like I know people want to accelerate our rebuild, but we are still in year 2 of the rebuild. So right now, younger, lower priced, high ceiling assets is the name of the game, particularly when you're talking about the bottom of the depth chart. That applies to Gary Jennings, that applies to Kirk Merritt, that applies, to Matt Cole as well. Particularly, you're talking about a guy who can contribute right away as a special teamer. Once again, a guy like Mac Hollins, guy who I had slated to work Thursdays to Saturdays on the Friar, is pretty much a lock for the team now. So, once again, these cuts aren't showing me much, but they are showing me that the coaching brass clearly knows who they want. They clearly know who they want. They clearly have their guys. They know who they want to put on this roster. It's just a matter of coming down to that cut date and then pulling the trigger.
Which is, and I'll let Rhino go in a sec. If you remember, Flores said, and we'll talk a little bit more about a Zoom later, but one of the things he said yesterday, if people watched the Zoom, was he pretty much had an idea of not only the 53, but also the 16 that we're going to be seeing the practice squad. Because guess what, guys? It's a total of 69 players.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah. And you know what? They're just holding out because, they're not cutting guys early because guys can still get injured up until we get to that final cut date. So they're holding on to guys just to hold on to guys.
And I want to say to you, Havoc, I agree with what you're saying about the potential, but what I'm sitting here and saying is I think they've seen that potential flash in camp with a guy like Kirk Merritt and even with a guy like Matt Cole. I think, we'll get into my 53-man projected roster in a bit here, but I really think that Matt Cole and Kirk Merritt are going to fall under protected status. So.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they're going anywhere this season. I don't think Matt Cole, Kirk Merritt are going anywhere. Now, I was looking to hear more from Gary Jennings, particularly since he's a slot guy. I haven't heard too much from him. That may be a good thing, maybe a bad thing. Once again, information coming out of camp is limited.
Yeah, we only get about 10%, 15%. We're not allowed to even hear who the ones and twos are and who's working with who, right?
But once again, if a guy like Kirk Merritt who hasn't practiced in a week or so, and we're not really hearing too much about him getting cut, that tells me they've seen enough.
They're getting rid of healthy bodies before they get rid of the UDFA who's missed six. And here's the thing: Ricardo Lewis and Chester Rogers have flashed since they've come here. So it's not like they're getting rid of guys who we haven't heard popping up in these training camp reports that we're reading when we had more access, right? So that's the thing. If we were getting what Gary Jennings seems to be giving us through training camp reports right now, then I would be like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, I understand. But I'm telling you, like I said this before, if you do the timeline before the first day Fitzpatrick missed when his mother was still alive and he went to go see her, and Rosen and Tua had the first day to themselves, Kirk Merritt was coming on and popping up for the last 2 or 3 days prior to that in the training camp report on the other end of Tua Tagovailoa passes. Then not too long after that 11-11, he was suddenly sidelined. Right. So it seems like might have had something lingering. My surprise to me is when we were reading it, we only heard about Matt Cole getting punt and kick return work for a few days. That's what kind of surprised me.
I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised by that at all. Cause you're talking about how guys are earning their check. That's how he's going to earn his check. Special teams but
I'm surprised they weren't giving him more days at kick return and punt return. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he may also be a guy who they may, they're giving him some reps, but a guy is going to be a gunner. Just the guy doing what he has to do to stay on the roster because he was all confident.
I think it's Clayton Fledgelen, bro.
True. They signed him specifically for that.
Yeah, so and it sounds like Clayton's also been showing up when they've given him reps at safety too, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about his status on the roster.
No, but I do think if Fledgelen goes down, I do think you're right. Matt Cole's next up because that was one of his strengths, right? So let's get in McKendy College. So let's get into a few things from today, a few little interesting notes, and just to tell everyone an update. Guys, right now the roster stands at 76 players. So we need to get down to 53 by Saturday afternoon, and we'll be going live after everything happens when the full roster basically comes together on Saturday. And again, there's going to be 16 players on the practice squad this year. It's expanded from 10 due to the circumstances, and 4 of those players can get protected. And then on the 53 on Sundays, you can promote 2 guys from your practice squad to make your roster total 55. and then you can move them back to your practice squad, and they can be under that protection status.
Can I just say something real quick about the
Go
releases?
ahead. Go ahead, bro.
I think the timing of it is everything to me. I think reading tea leaves here and how they've clamped down on the information, I think they have moved on from training camp and they've moved on to installing what they're going to do with the Patriots. That's just my personal view. And I think they don't need really 3 teams anymore because they're not throwing as much. They're focused in what they're doing is what I feel. And I think that's kind of whatever tea leaves we can get about who the quarterback is on the second, I think we'll know what the pecking order is if we ever get any kind of leaks about that. It's just, I think the timing of it is very interesting. They released them yesterday and today.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I'd agree.
Especially when we're talking about you want bodies for practice,
right?
Yeah,
for at least the next couple of days, and Kirk Merritt's out.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, at some point, they're going to start preparing for the Patriots. Like this whole feeling out the roster, like at a certain point.
Yeah.
Oh,
that game is over.
I think it's starting, bro, because that's why everything's closed down, right?
Yeah.
And I think Merritt and Coles will make the team one way or the other.
I think the Dolphins will keep them as an asset one way or the other. And I hope Jennings also makes that cut, but like I said, information is limited, so it's hard to know.
And guys, we got 103 people in the room right now. Do us a favor, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't, guys, I know Havoc and Rhino, because they've been on a lot lately, they're probably sick of hearing me talk about it. But man, the numbers keep growing, guys. Right now we're at 1,184 subscribers, man. So
nice.
We're getting closer every day. We're at 108 in the room right now. Smash that like button. Get that like number up. I'll challenge y'all again to hit 150. Y'all have been pretty good at it lately. If you'd like to donate to the channel, paypal.me/Phinside. If you want to become a Patreon, there you go, www.patreon.com/Phinside the NFL. And as usual, before we get into the Dolphins news, I will shout out all of our Patreon members because y'all, it's amazing that y'all love us enough out here to open up your wallets consistently like that. So, of course, we got the original OG Patreons, Infinite Trauma, and Rhino Sith. We got Fake Spike 94. We got Joe B. We got KA All Day, Ramon Casillas, Seth, Mr. Two Bits, and of course, Shake Money. Much love to each and every one of you guys. And hey, the paid league is filled up. Okay, guys. But if you want to join the free league, there's a couple spots left in the free league. The draft is Friday night, 7:30. I'll probably be doing the draft, and then we'll probably be going live right after it. So if you guys want to join the free league, that's all that's open right now. PhinsideTheNFL@gmail.com. I think we got about 10 or 12 guys, and I'm capping it at 16. So there's a couple spots left if you guys want to join.
That's what's up.
All right, let's keep it moving here. So let's get into the Dolphins, continue on with the Dolphins train here. So there just were a few tidbits that came out today. There also was a highlight. And there's also something I want to go over that I thought was pretty interesting today too. So basically, guys, a few news and notes from Barry Jackson. While his former boss, ex-Dolphins coach Adam Gase said receiver Jakeem Grant was better suited to play on the boundary than the slot, new receivers coach Josh Grizzard said Grant has the ability to play outside or inside. I see Jakeem as a guy who can do both. Eric Studsville, our running back coach, said on undrafted rookie Salvin Ahmed, very similar to what Myles Gaskin did in Washington, used his speed and space, made a lot of plays up there. Exciting young players, and I've highlighted this before. There's a lot of comparisons to him and Myles Gaskin. And then Studsville was asked about Malcolm Perry because he's still listed as a running back, and Studsville basically said that he hasn't spent any time at all, basically, with Perry. He said he's got a big job ahead of him, learning all the special team stuff and the wide receiver stuff, which is new for him too. So the possibilities are out there, but we haven't spent a lot of time with that at all yet. So, and then here's another thing. Offensive line coach Steve Marshall said a starter at right guard is still undetermined. Hunt and Kinley do obviously appear to be the two top contenders.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's up. I thought that Hunt was the guy, but it seems like Kinley has tightened up that race for the past week and a half or so.
Yep.
But it's an interesting situation. Also hearing about Perry, it just goes down to show don't believe the depth chart, because we've told y'all a few times that in our comparisons with Malcolm Perry, we've brought up the names Azahir Hakeem, we've brought up the Julian Edelman, guys that were college quarterbacks, Antoine Randall L, guys that were college quarterbacks, ended up as slot receivers / special teams contributors. Mm-hmm. So it looks like Malcolm Perry is out here with the special teams and the wide receiver, not getting a lot of work in the running back room. Looks like that's what the Dolphins got brewed up for him.
That's why I said he's my from what we're hearing, right behind Ford at 4. I would have Malcolm Perry slotted at 5 and Hollins there at 6. The one thing I've said, he kind of prophesized for me today, because a couple weeks ago, because I was on Twitter, and it was that same day where he made that bomb catch from Tua on the long bomb, not the one in the corner of the end zone, but that long bomb. And I said my biggest surprise to me wasn't that he was picking up the position. It was how soft the hands were that he was displaying that we kept hearing about. And friend of the show, the homie Alan Popar, called me out a little bit and said, soft hands, I don't know about that. And then literally about an hour and a half later, that video came out of Malcolm Perry making that catch on that deep route. And that's been what's impressive to me, man. He's not only adapted, he's taken on the role really well, but it's the hands he's displayed, man. We've even seen him on those out routes and those slant routes where the ball's got zip behind it and he's got no problem, right? Like I think we've only heard one fumble.
It's been reliable with the hands.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think he really is going to be the slot guy moving forward. And then you got Mac Hollins right behind him, bro. It's, it's impressive, man, how this guy's turning himself into, like I said, the Swiss Navy knife.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. And, I think if a guy like a Gary Jennings doesn't make the roster, I think you can probably highlight Malcolm Perry picking up the position as quickly as he has as a contributing factor to that. I mean, he appears to be just a football player. Mm-hmm. He appears to be a guy. You just get the ball in his hands, you put him in the right position, and he will give you something. So that appears, from the early onset, that something's going to be at, in the slot, is going to be on special teams, probably going to be some gadget plays, maybe some plays they may have had drawn up for Albert Wilson. Mm-hmm. Malcolm Perry might fill in that role now. So
I just want to cover a few things. Sorry to cut you off, because I see Daniel Ashford said Jesse Davis playing right tackle is scary. I don't know, bro, because if you listen to the Steve Marshall Zoom today, Steve Marshall said Jesse Davis has been the best lineman at camp, and that includes Kinley, everyone. Apparently, Jesse Davis has been the best lineman at camp. So I don't know, man. I think year 2 he's going to take that step, because EM's pointed out, if you look at the back half of his season, he started getting better game by game at that right tackle position. So, and then Armando asked, what kind of hand injury does Vandoya have? We don't know the specific, because they've actually turned out and labeled it an upper body injury. The only reason we know it's a hand injury was because, if you guys remember back on the training camp report shows that we were doing when they were coming out, all the reporters noticed that he was favoring his hand, and that's how we know it is something to do with the hand. We don't know exactly what it is. Okay, continue your thought to Havoc. I just wanted to, because I want people to realize that Jesse Davis is having the best camp out of our offensive linemen, according to the offensive line coach. And that's the guy whose opinion that matters the most, next to Brian Flores. Right?
Which is not a surprise to me.
And to that point, I will say that is either great news or not great news. I like Jesse Davis.
It must be good, bro. If Solomon Kinley's been showing up the way he has been.
Yep. I mean,
he's kept Hunt off, right?
My perspective on Jesse Davis is pretty much the same. He is highly valuable as a guy that can play every position on the line, basically. And that's where I think he's best deployed as. But if he is our best performing right tackle, and he has shown that he can perform in a way that's comparable to the end of last season, then it could work out. It could work out fine. But once again, while Jesse Davis may be a good fixture on our as part of our O line, I don't necessarily see him as a long-term fixture as a starting right tackle. But it's still kind of a fluid situation. I think going into the week coming up, against the Patriots, clearly he's got right tackle locked down. It doesn't even seem to be a question. And to be honest, it seems like most of the O line is pretty much locked down. You're going to get Jackson, Flowers, Karras, Davis, and it seems right now right guard is a toss-up between
Solomon or Hunt.
Yeah, between Kinley or Hunt, and Hunt probably has the better physical profile than Kinley, but Kinley has been performing more consistently than Hunt.
Yeah.
So.
And Daniel Asher, bro, he's going against rookies. What do you mean, dog? Like, Ogba comes off the edge. Shaq Lawson can stand up and come off the edge in practice. I mean, Van Noy can come off the edge.
Van Brothers.
Van Ginkel can come off the edge. I mean, Raekwon Davis is more on the inside than he is coming off the edge, right? So, I mean, you can't make that argument because obviously Weaver wasn't getting the better of Jesse Davis, or Curtis Weaver would probably still be there. But Pyromancer says the Dolphins, and this is why I saw your comment, Andrew, because I saw Pyro's. Dolphins throwing a lot of smoke screens this camp. And I agree with you, Pyro, because I might have been hypothesizing a little bit and conspiracy theorizing. But, guys, I'm telling you, if you look at the placement of the early videos of Tua with Rosen in the background throwing bombs where Tua is only getting an out route or a little slant route to throw to, I'm telling you, those were perfectly placed. And then it tells me even more with how quickly they reared back the reps on Josh Rosen.
Yep.
Do the timeline, guys.
Yep.
He made the 75-yard touchdown to Jakeem Grant, and the next day or the day after is when we saw the video of him making the bomb in the background of the Tua throw. I think they were PR gaming with Josh Rosen.
Yep.
And I think with the wide receiver room right now, they've seen something that we aren't privy to in terms of the bottom of that wide receiver room as to why they can let bodies go with days left still in camp when you could have cut Chester Rogers and Ricardo Lewis on Saturday. You didn't have to cut them today.
Yep. Or not bring him in at all. But I think it's important. It's important that we put out facts. We put out good information, particularly in regards to our quarterback room. And when you look at the comments Brian Flores made a few days ago, when asked about Ryan Fitzpatrick, and he said, there is no quarterback controversy. Usually a tight-lipped organization, but I think that's a pretty bold statement to make.
I think it was a slip
at this point in training camp. I think that indicates to me that we know who our QB1 is. Now,
he's available, yeah.
Now, the real question is QB2, and something that I think has been consistent throughout Josh Rosen's career, particularly when we're talking about his production, is, organizations learn very, very early that PR answers are the way. That answers that sound very similar to working hard, trying his best, doing what he can. These are words. Some of these words are words that came out of his mouth on his last Zoom. Hey, man, I'm just here trying to, throw the ball around.
Grow and develop. I'm trying to grow. Hold on a sec. Let me rearrange this for a minute here.
Hopefully, I'll be able to do it for this team.
Yeah. So, just to be clear and put out the good information out there, Brian Flores has said there is no quarterback controversy. Clearly, Fitzpatrick, I can't remember a time where he's been practicing with the second or third team.
No, Fitzpatrick is the number one, guys.
So,
like this is, Havoc's exactly right. When he said, when Fitzpatrick is gone, the first thing he said when he left practice when his mother passed away is there's no quarterback controversy. Guys, that should tell you, listen, all right? Are you going to start week 1 in New England against Bill Belichick, who can throw the exotic looks he has, and that's why he has such a successful record against he's only lost like 2 or 3 times to quarterbacks under the age of 25. You're going to go out and either put a rookie who's going right now in 11-11s when Fitzpatrick is gone, he went through growing pains with the ones, or Josh Rosen, his 3rd year in, who's putting up identical numbers to that rookie who's working with the ones for the first time and has no chemistry with them. So it's not even a question of who. It's not it's a competition for the number 2 spot. That's what. And is it really even a competition right now?
Not really.
Josh Rosen's losing reps.
Let's
Based on the information, no.
Let's keep it a buck, man. Is it really? Because it, like I said, and I don't want to harp, but it seems when Josh Rosen around, it seems like there's a PR answer not too far away. So, at a certain point, we're saying, oh, is there a QB2 controversy? I don't know if there actually is. I think they have to say it. I don't think they can. I don't think they can slam the door and say what we know. But what's good, EM?
Tell us.
Go ahead, EM.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm hearing a lot of people saying that he's going to start. This is very good.
Who are you talking about, Tua or Rosen?
No, Josh Rosen. That's what I'm hearing tonight.
CFL?
What do you mean, start his car to get the practice? What do you mean start?
Listen. I'm not calling any names. I'm just saying I've been hearing. That's all. About a couple hours ago, I was listening to this other podcast and other show, and it seems to be that this
Were you listening to the march? Were you listening to the marching band show?
You listen to X's and O's, bro? What's going on?
I don't know. They seem and it's like they seem like they have some kind of intel that we're not privy to.
Really?
So
I thought we were the source for reliable information.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought the homie Reason had that on lock. Man, but I guess not.
We slipping.
I guess not. So I don't know. I'm just saying that's what I'm hearing. So,
man,
yeah, but
just thought I'd put that out there.
Yeah, but obviously you got people who are either incompetent or their reading comprehension is that of a kindergarten level, because all the reports and everything, even outside of the reports, go look. Did you see what Omar Kelly said today?
I didn't. I hadn't seen anything, bro.
Okay, I'm going to bring it up right now. But Omar Kelly basically put it into – check it. I'll tell you right now. And Omar Kelly, this is a guy who in the first week, remember, he was saying, oh, Josh Rosen looked like he's better at processing after 3 days. Right. Then he turned around the next day, day 4, day 5, and said, oh, no, I was wrong. He's not good at processing, and all the same problems are still there. So I'm going to show you guys. Let me just bring it up right here.
Omar said, "Oh no, I'm taking that one back."
I still don't trust Omar, but
no, he had here. Just watch what he said in terms of and because Omar was one of the people where when Fitzpatrick was gone, he was saying, "Yo, this team, I noticed the difference of how badly this offense needs Fitzpatrick right now."
A blind squirrel saw that.
I know, right?
I mean,
Ray Charles could see that.
Yeah, you could just see everyone's face was disappointed. They were like, "Oh, Fitz is gone."
Yeah.
Yes, I think Stevie can too as well.
Man. Well, there been some reports about Stevie. Like there've been some reports about it's someone will leave something on TV.
Stevie can see.
Yeah, right. Stevie will be like, "Hey man, please."
I found it. Check this out. This is exactly what Omar said. This is earlier today. Check this out, and I'll read it because I know EM probably can't see right now. Check this out. And this is at 10:39 a.m. Eastern time. I honestly wish it was a better quarterback competition, but it wasn't. Josh Rosen hasn't blossomed still, and Tua Tagovailoa isn't ready. Maybe Tagovailoa would have made it more competitive if he had a full offseason, but this is Ryan Fitzpatrick's team. So why is he saying maybe Tagovailoa would have made it more competitive if he had a full offseason and not Josh Rosen and Tua Tagovailoa?
I know, right?
Could have made it. And here's it. Right there. It's Ryan Fitzpatrick's team. Anyone trying to tell you different is either doing two things. They're trying to troll. Oh, sorry, 3 things. They're trying to troll. They're desperate to be right on an out of left field hot take, or they don't know what they're talking about. Pick one of the 3 because it's one of those 3.
Yeah, I mean it's clear as day. It's clear as day.
And at the end of the day,
you got an echo EM too.
Okay, hang on, bro. Sorry, man.
Tiny one.
How about, is it better now?
Yeah, you're good, bro.
Yeah,
yes.
Okay.
A little bit.
And you know, and to be honest with you, it should be at the end of the day, it should be Ryan Fitzpatrick's team. It should, of
course.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We've been saying that all year. He earned it last year. That's his locker room now. He has everyone willing to jump off a bridge, run through a wall right now. They love that dude.
Yep.
And again, it starts with his production on the field. They knew what he had at his disposal last year. They knew first. They saw they were up close and personal. Okay, they saw up close and personal how difficult a season that was for any quarterback. But for him to be placed in that situation and him to put up him to have the year that he had last year, it should be his. He should be the starter. It should be his team.
Bro, who knows what quarterback in that room, let alone what player, knows Chan Gailey's offense better than him?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, we also saw the reports that when he left practice, it was like the air left the room.
Yeah, man. Like, you can
the team.
It seems like Rosen and Tua struggled without Fitzpatrick, their tutelage in the 11-11s.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But this I'm gonna be honest with you. If I can be transparent, this Tua and Rosen dynamic it seems like it's shaping up to be eerily similar to what, and I'm not comparing Tua to Patrick Mahomes, but the Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes situation. You know what I mean? Because if you recall, early on the struggles that Patrick Mahomes was having, he just wasn't ready to be a starter. And you had that veteran presence in Alex Smith, good quarterback, journeyman quarterback. He was able to mentor and bring, it was a similar in terms of their personal relationship as well, because from what I understand, they were really close as well. So there's a lot of parallels seem to be shaping up like that situation compared to Tua and Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now, again, I'm not comparing Tua. We all know how I love Tua, but Tua's going to have to earn everything from here on out. So, but there's a lot of parallels there, from what I can tell.
All right, so let's keep it moving here because I want you guys to hear this one. The Sun Sentinel, they basically dropped. Here's insight on 10 Dolphins players from the Miami assistant coaches today, because it was all the assistant coaches handled the Zooms today. So, on rookie Tua Tagovailoa's readiness to play in an NFL game. And EM, I'm just going to mute you for this, and then because you got an echo, and then I'll unmute you when I'm done reading this, and you can give us your thoughts, okay? So, on rookie Tua Tagovailoa's readiness to play in an NFL game, Dolphins quarterback coach Robbie Brown said the team won't truly know that answer until Tagovailoa sees live action, which is what we've said about Tua and Rosen. Due to the coronavirus pandemic affected offseason, the Dolphins have tried their best to stimulate. I think it means simulate. It says stimulate, but I think it means simulate scenarios Tagovailoa could experience when he finally plays in an NFL game. He said you don't know until they go out there and they see that level of competition and that speed. Again, Dolphins coach Brian Flores will ultimately decide when Tagovailoa makes his debut with veteran Ryan Fitzpatrick, expected to be the team's starting quarterback to begin the season. And Brown just said, my goal has been to get him better each and every day. When it's time and coach makes that decision, we'll go with it. On Malcolm Perry, John Grizzard, the receivers coach, said he works his ass off all the time. He does a good job of not making the same mistake twice. Grizzard saw Perry trying out receiver while he worked at the East-West Shrine game in January, a major event for unheralded college players. So it seems that the early connection has paid off for the Dolphins. So that's the scouting department saw that early. You got to like that. And they said that the early connection has paid off and they said Perry's had a standout performance in camp. And then it goes over here and says that Studesville said he hasn't worked with Perry yet. Studesville is the running back coach, but he said he has a unique skill set and his productivity with Navy was unbelievable. Dolphins rookie Noah Ignogany, Miami's last of 3 first-round picks in April, could continue to see a prominent role on defense as Xavier Howard works his way back from knee surgery last year. And then Gerald Alexander, who was absolutely fantastic today. This guy's ability to communicate, Gerald Alexander is going to be a future head coach in the NFL. Go watch his Zoom today. He said, you start to see over the course of camp that he's getting more comfortable as a perimeter corner. He's still pretty fresh at the position, but you start to see a guy who is developing technically out there on the perimeter. Ignogany, who used to play receiver before changing positions, has shown an early knack for getting after the football and beating receivers in one-on-one coverage during his first NFL training camp. Alexander did not express too much apprehension for how Howard has progressed now that he has returned to camp. And he said one of the things he's done, if he's not talking the physical rep, again, it says talking. So I think it says if he's not taking the physical rep, he's taking the mental rep. So when he does insert himself on the field, there is some familiarity. I'm not too concerned about it. He understands the terminology and responsibility that comes with certain calls or communication. And then here you go, EM. Offensive line coach Steve Marshall said 2019 third-round pick Michael Dieter is working well in his transition to center. While Dieter may not be on the first-team offense, his progression as an offensive line prospect is significant for the Dolphins' rebuilding effort. And he said, and this is what Steve Marshall said, he said he's working every day. I've been very pleased with what he's done at center, and he's multi-position learning. He's played center at University of Wisconsin as a sophomore, so it wasn't unfamiliar to him. Every day is a new adventure, but Mike has completed extremely hard, and I'm happy with his development. Marshall says his offensive line's collective youth, even with its most experienced players like Jesse Davis, Eric Flowers, and Ted Karras, has to see live action in order to truly improve as a unit. Again, this is what we've all been consistently saying on this channel. We've had our hiccups, but the guys have fought their tails off, and they're working hard. He said we're anxious to get the season rolling, and I don't know if they're going to cover it today, but again, guys, Steve Marshall in the Zoom today said Jesse Davis has been his best offensive lineman at camp. Tight ends coach George Godsey singled out Durham Smythe today and said, I really think Durham is a leader in that room. He does a good job of communicating. He has put in a lot of blocking roles last year and did well. He's able to help in all 3 phases, whether it's blocking, protection, or running routes. Again, apparently this year, guys, in training camp, Durham Smythe has displayed really good hands, which has surprised a lot of people. He said, I don't think any of those guys have reached their ceiling, talking about Shaheen, Durham Smythe, and Gesicki. Defensive line coach Marion Hobby said of tackle Raekwon Davis, he's a big, massive guy. He wants to be coached. He's growing. Last week's scrimmage was really the first game day atmosphere for him in the stadium, and I thought he did a good job. Hobby was also complimentary of Jason Strobridge. He keeps getting better every day. He has a role on this team, so there you go. And whether it's first week or second week, we're definitely going to need him. Zach Seiler also has the potential to make more plays this season, Hobby said. He's still a young player, but he shows up. So he's one of those 6'6" guys with a lot of wingspan in there, and I think he does a great job. Brown says, Robbie Brown, the quarterback's coach, says Fitzpatrick is the same person he is today, that the quarterback's coach remembers him being from their time together with the Jets 5 years ago. Because that's another thing. Not only is he in with Chan Gailey, but he worked with Robbie Brown too, right? Mm-hmm. So not changed as a person in any way, shape, or form. He loves to play the game. He loves the mental aspect of the game. We've been together for a month here, but he seems exactly the same to me. So, guys, I mean, pretty high praise consistently across the board for Ryan Fitzpatrick. But, you know, I don't know if you heard me, but you'll watch the Zoom, I'm sure, later. Steve Marshall said today Jesse Davis has been the best tackle and the best offensive lineman at camp. And I know Havoc joked, and few people were joking, well, what does that say about the rest of the offensive line? But people have been raving about Solomon Kinley, and for Steve Marshall to say Jesse Davis has played better than Solomon Kinley, I mean, and there's been some raving about Eric Flowers too, and
exactly.
It seems like he's been doing a pretty good, consistent job. And for Jesse Davis, and I think also they're taking into effect, because I highlighted it when you go back to Jesse Davis's Zoom from a couple days ago. What did I tell you guys? I said, from what I understand, Ted Karras, Jesse Davis, and Keaton Sutherland were the guys really taking these rookies under the wing. And I think Jesse Davis has been doing really well on field and really well in the locker room. And I think that's why they're really happy with this guy. So,
That is very encouraging to hear. In particular, Jesse Davis, as well as Michael Dieter. Yeah, that's very encouraging to hear about Dieter. We felt all along. I mean, we called this a year, maybe a year ago, that we felt like his skill set at this point in his career was better suited to play center. He's got the athleticism. He's got the aptitude. Obviously, the article pointed out he's had consistent reps at center while he was at Wisconsin. Can play in space. I just thought, and I get he had to play there because there was nobody else. They had nobody else available. And he was also selected in the third round last year's draft. So, but I think Dieter can be a very, very productive player at center. I really, truly, I'm convinced of that. And to hear him transitioning well to that role, I mean, he could be. I mean, wow, what if he turned out to be our answer at center? Because Karras is on a 1-year deal, and if Dieter comes in and he's consistent and he proves that that he can assume that role, man, we have our starting center for the next 3 to 4 years. In fast forward to next year's draft, we don't have to worry about that position in the draft. So that's very encouraging to hear, and I'm glad to hear Dieter putting that work in, and he's actually he's transitioning well to that position, and I just think this is just the beginning for him. But Jesse Davis for the offensive line coach to make a bold statement like that and say that Jesse Davis has been our best lineman, and what have we heard all offseason? Since training camp started about Eric Flowers, we've been hearing his name, the Solomon Killings of the world, even Ted Karras. You know what I mean? How well they're playing, but for him to say Jesse Davis has been the best, I mean, that says a lot. I think we, at this time, man, we need to start putting a little more respect on that man's name. You know what I mean? We need to stop disrespecting Jesse Davis so much. And again, I've been on record all off season that I thought that Jesse Davis would be the solution at right tackle. And he's just, based off what he did the second half of the season last year, it appears that he's, that he's just getting better and better and better. And, it's just, if he can solidify that right side, man, I'm telling you, good things are coming.
Yeah, it's all good information. I think we're starting to not so much worry so much about some of the guys fighting for jobs and more looking at who's solidifying the first team more than anything else. And I mean, it's good to hear that at least there's some variance of stability on the offensive line when we were all very uncertain about going into camp. So to hear that, Jesse Davis has been consistent from day one. I mean, that honestly, that exceeds my expectations. And if he can lock down that right tackle, be an answer at that right tackle position. I mean, that's just less draft capital you have to you have to invest in that position. Also, what type of about face is Durham Smythe made? A guy I thought was to be questionable to even be in the NFL.
A lot of us did, I think.
And to hear, be it leadership qualities, from a production standpoint, doing well at all three phases. I thought a guy came in exclusively as a blocker. I mean, that's all great to hear. He must have had some type of off season,
and even struggled at his specialty at times last year, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the physical profile is there. He's huge. But to hear that he's being productive, I mean, that'd be amazing. Particularly, you know, a guy you don't ask too much from either. So,
and let's keep it moving a little bit here. We'll get into a clip that came up from practice today that some people will be interested in. Then we'll get into EM. We talked about it yesterday. We'll talk about it today. We'll get into Tua, what Flores said about Tua yesterday in his Zoom in terms of being a little bit of little cautious. Then we'll get into a little rare chat. Basically, the transcript kind of leak through the Fox documentary of when Greer called Tua to tell him the news that he would be drafted by the Miami Dolphins. So we'll get into that, and then we'll get into the roster projection. So let's get into this video first, guys. And this is Brandon Jones today, and he's covering Preston Williams, and Ryan Fitzpatrick's throwing the football, and it looks like they're out there against the ones. So let me just make sure y'all can hear the audio, just because it adds the effect, I guess. So let's take a look at this quick. We'll watch this a few times. You know, for all of y'all out here doubting our boy. All day, baby. All day. Look how tight that That's
Byron, right? That's Byron, right? Okay.
Yeah, Byron Jones. That coverage was tighter than a virgin, brother.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that.
I think he'll be fine. Fine.
Yeah.
Good throw, too.
That was a great throw. Look at a great throw.
Yeah.
And look at the play, man.
Wow.
And that's attacking the ball at a high point too.
Against a bigger receiver in Preston Williams.
Yep.
Preston's had one of the best camps, right? Him and Devontae.
Looks like he's coming around.
Yep.
I'm not worried. I kind of agree with Havoc's stance where this is the type of guy where, you know, a veteran like that he's already put it on film. I'm not worried till I start seeing him getting blown away in game time. And when he has been burnt in coverage, like burnt as in like beat by speed, it's taken 4-3 guys in practice to beat him, right? Other than that, he's just been outbodied by Devontae, who was outbodying Stephon Gilmore last year.
So, he did that to everybody last year.
It's the Heat in Miami. Until you live it every day, you don't know what it's like.
And also, it's a new scheme. You know what I mean? New terminology, new concept. So it's, you know, just like Tua, it's going to take a while. It's just taking him a little while.
Daniel, you're crazy. That was a good thrown ball by Fitzpatrick, dude.
Yeah, that was just great coverage on Byron Jones' part.
They killing Fitz already.
No, Daniel, you came up here and you told us you watched film. Now you're gonna sit here and say that wasn't a good throw, bro? Come on, dog. Come on, come on, bro. I love you, homie, but come on, bro. Don't be. Come on, man. He just hates on Fitzpatrick a little bit too.
I'm gonna be honest.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh,
go ahead, Ian.
No, I was gonna say. I tell you, week one, I feel good with Fitz. I feel real good for our team overall with Fitz at the helm, at veteran presence. You know, I feel good about week one going to New England.
I wish you could have seen my face when I heard Fitzpatrick went home that day. I was bummed. I was bummed.
Let me get.
I think we all were a little bit. You know.
Yeah.
Let me get you guys quick thoughts on this. Jim Nantz and Tony Romo, the top CBS commentary crew, has been assigned to our game.
Why are we on CBS? Why are we on CBS though?
Aren't all the Dolphins games on CBS?
Oh yeah, usually NFC is Fox and then AFC is CBS. Usually up here at least.
Well, that'll be I think that's going to be the national televised game for the most part.
I think so too. Tony Romo is clearly their highest paid analyst they have.
Let's go.
So
let's beat them on nationally televised.
Put some respect on that logo.
That's it. Y'all know the tides have turned.
Yeah,
you got to worry about the Taco Charltons and the Charles Harrises anymore.
Did y'all hear Nate Burleson today? Nate Burleson on Good Morning Football today said, if Tua comes in and Tua and I quote, he said, and Tua gets going, the Dolphins are going to be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all agree with that. It's really just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Pretty much with Tua. I mean, it's like, we're all confident he's going to get there. It's just a matter of when is he going to get there. Mm-hmm. So I like the situation we're in where we don't have to put him in when we don't have to. It's not like, Joe Burrow needs to be ready week 1. He has no choice. But
and he's had a really up and down time too, right?
Yeah. So, he doesn't have that weight of I have to carry this team on my back in my rookie season. I think as
beautiful.
Yeah, and it's almost like what the coach was saying about Malcolm Perry, where he's saying, he's not making the same mistake twice.
Yeah,
that's what progress looks like.
So let's keep. Is that what he said about Malcolm Perry?
Yeah, he said he doesn't make the same mistake twice.
Yeah. That was what Grizzer, the receivers coach, said about him.
Very good.
Okay, so let's keep it moving to it then. Let's talk about what Flores said yesterday, because there were a few things that were interesting. Let's start here. Miami Dolphins coach Brian Flores wants what's best for rookie quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, and if that includes biding more time for Tagovailoa to grow more comfortable in his return from hip surgery, Flores is willing to play it safe. Flores, speaking before Tuesday's Dolphins practice, I'm just going to mute you again for 1 sec there. He said before his Dolphin practice, he said Tagovailoa's recovery will certainly be a factor when the team decides which players will be active and could potentially play when the season begins at New England on September 13th. And I quote, "That is definitely part of the conversation for sure," Flores said of Tagovailoa. "We're at 10 months. It was a pretty serious injury. He looks good, though. He's healthy. He's moving around to his right and to his left. But, yes, that's part of the conversation." If you guys continue, he said he actually went on to say that he cares about Tua Tagovailoa. But when he was asked about the competition, he said, "We're not saying somebody is 1, 2, or 3. It's still a competition. Obviously, Fitz has played well. They've all played well in spurts, and they've all made mistakes. We've still got a few days here. I think we like where all 3 of them are, and we'll continue to leave that as a competition moving forward." So,
it's interesting comments he made. Clearly, Brian Flores is not Bill O'Brien. He's not going to throw a rookie to the wolves and let him get battered around all season. And he displayed that. And he displayed that last season with Josh Rosen, where he was like, "Hey, I got to put a plug on it, man. It ain't working out."
Yeah.
So it's good to see. He's mindful of his future, not just of the present.
That's right.
But I like I like what he said about, we said that this would be the best approach as far as Tua's implementation from day one.
Yeah.
Me personally, I would rather him be a year removed before they would even entertain him, entertaining the possibility of him being out on the field, in the regular season. So
I'm telling you guys, the date that makes the most sense is the Jets game. Mm-hmm. If Fitz isn't 100%. Playing well, or Fitz's arm starts dying, you just want to get to that Jets game. You give him, he gets the Jets, then he gets a bye week to study the things he did wrong and right in that game, correct the mistakes, and then he gets to face the same defense, and he's going to get a lot of similar looks again. And it's a pretty that defense is a shell of what it could have been because of opt-outs and guys who left. So, it's a pretty bad defense as well, like with rookies that are going to be learning the way. So, they might not even overcomplicate things for guys in that defense. So, that might be the best scenario, the same team twice in 3 weeks with a bye week in the middle.
Yeah, I think if you look at the schedule, you'd be hard-pressed to find another team you would circle in as the team you'd want your rookie quarterback to play first.
Yeah,
I don't see anyone who really gives Jets any competition in that race, because they are going to be trizash this year. Their defense, the cupboards are bare. Jamal Adams ain't there. CJ Mosley ain't there. I think they have Greg Williams, but when you got these young guys in and out, you can't make it too complicated for them. Yeah. Situation where we were getting guys from Lowe's last season, the Jets may be in a situation like that right now. So if they may be getting guys from Dick's Sporting Goods, but at a certain point, if you're talking about the ideal scenario for Tua to come in, or you get the Jets and then you get a bye week and then you get the Jets again, you can't write that up better.
This is the best approach. This is the ideal approach for Tua. I just think get him, and he's healthy. We know he's healthy, but again, an injury like that, you want a person to be at least a year removed or as close to that year mark as possible.
Yeah,
and I think it's encouraging to hear that they're mindful of that. They understand the nature of that injury, and good. And I'm glad this is the approach they're taking with him, because this is the ideal approach for him. So if you have to play him at some point, Fitz arm, Fitz is he reverts back to it's tragic, or his arm dies, or God forbid he gets hurt. Okay, well then that's a different situation. You have no other alternative. But as long as Fitz is healthy, this is the best approach. He can see, he'll get a chance to learn from the sideline. Best approach for him.
I'll talk about it when we go over the depth chart. But I agree with Ian.
Yeah. And like Mahomes said, that year of learning from Alex Smith was invaluable to his development. Because from what I understand, Mahomes out here throwing interceptions left and right, and in his first training camp.
And he did. And he didn't start the first game of the season. He's trash.
Yeah, he threw 7 interceptions in his first 6 practices as a starter.
Yeah. So, and Tua was already showing you.
And then he went out and won the MVP.
Yeah, and Tua's already showing you his profile as an accurate quarterback already. A guy who'd rather live to see another day.
Well, here's the thing.
Than bury the team with mistakes.
Here's the thing. Even on his bad days, Joe Shad, Omar Kelly, everyone has still highlighted the accuracy and ball placement on the short to intermediate levels.
How many? I guess the question I have is, how many multiple interception days has Tua had in practice so far?
He's only through. He's had 1.
Okay, I'll take that from a rookie.
He's on 1, and I think he's had 1, but he's only thrown a total of 3 interceptions.
Yeah,
in 11-11s.
That's essentially, it wasn't his. When it comes down to a player like Jameis Winston, it wasn't the touchdowns that got him ran out of town. It was the interceptions that got him ran out of town. Him in that disgusting pregame speech where he was trying to get his guys amped up and try to eat his whole hand. But it's good to see that he's already showing. It's good to show that he's like, we gonna eat us a dub. All the guys are looking at him like, we're gonna do what? I just want to win. I don't want to eat my whole hand.
Havoc is in mid-season form right now, bro. You in mid-season form tonight.
Hasn't even gotten to Hollins yet.
I know.
And I haven't even touched on Mac Hollins either. Not even once.
You need to stop.
We'll get to him soon. Don't worry.
Once Tua acclimates, Tua will be fine. It's just a matter of time. So.
Yep.
All right. So let's keep it rolling then. Let's go over right before we get into the projection I made today for the 53-man roster and the nice graphic we got made up here. Basically, part of the Tua documentary that's come out on Fox Sports gave us a little rare and intimate look between the call of when a GM calls a player to tell them they're selected. So this was the conversation. Greer called, and basically Tagovailoa picked up, and Greer said, "Hey, Tua, it's Chris Greer from the Dolphins." Tagovailoa said, "What's up, Chris?" Greer said, "How you doing, man?" Tagovailoa, "Doing good. How you doing?" And this is what Greer said: "We enjoyed getting to know you through the process. Love how you play on the field, how you carry yourself off the field, the type of person you are and player. And we're excited here to make you a Miami Dolphin, man." Tagovailoa said, "Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate you guys, man. Thank you." Greer said, "You did a great job. You attacked everything like you did. Loved your story. Done a lot of work on you. Coach Flores, our owner, Stephen Ross, you will get on the phone with him next. Couldn't be more excited to have you here." Tagovailoa said, "Man, I appreciate it." Greer said, "Step 1, Tungvaloa said, yes, sir. Man, I appreciate it. I can't wait to get this thing rolling. And Greer said, this is funny right here. Excited as we are, Tungvaloa chuckled and said, I think I'm even more excited than you guys are. But Greer said, I don't think so. So you can tell it was almost kind of a match made in heaven. Let's be honest.
I mean, this is a 2-year love affair, for Chris Greer.
Yeah.
2 years. Rich Eisen was not lying when he said, I heard 2 years ago
at the draft,
okay, that the Dolphins were going to select him. 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So this is a 2-year love affair.
After the national championship.
After the national championship, yeah, right. And so it's a 2-year love affair. And I mean, what's not to love about this kid's tape that he consistently put up at Alabama? I mean, we talked about this for a year now, and but yeah, they had their, Tua's been on their radar screen for a long time, and it's good to hear that all 3 of them were on board. And it just wasn't just Chris Greer, you know what I mean? And so he's here now, and he's our guy. He's been our guy. And man, I just can't wait to see him, get up to speed and get out on the field.
And let's be honest, he's only had 2 bad practices, bro. It's only been and it's coincidentally been the only ones where Fitzpatrick missed.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's once again you're talking about chemistry. He hasn't necessarily had rapport with the first team guys that he had with, the Merritts and the Matt Collins, Perry, guys like that. So, once again, it just goes to show, once it just goes to show that, doing everything they're asking him to do, and probably when he goes home, he's doing a little bit more that they don't know about.
So, guys, I'm going to get into the projected 53-man roster. So, there's 121 in the room, and we only got about 70-something likes. Smash that like button. Hit that subscription button. Let's see if we can reach 1190. We're at 1186, so we've already gained 2. So smash that. If you want to donate to the channel, paypal.me/Phinside. If you want to become a Patreon, patreon.com/Phinside the NFL. Gave the Patreon shout out earlier. We love our 9 Patreons. Who's going to be the 10th? And if you want to join the free fantasy league because the paid league's filled up, PhinsideTheNFL@gmail.com. Email me and I'll send you the link. But again, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't. Let's get into it, guys. So I sat down and this is how I see the 53-man roster shaping up. And remember, guys, 4 players out of the 16 on the practice squad can be protected, and you can bring up 2 players on Sunday to make it a 55-man roster. All right. So you'll see why I'm mentioning that in a second. So offensively, and I'll get you guys' thoughts after I go through it. Quarterback, Fitzpatrick, Tua, Rosen. Running back, Josh Howard, Matt Breida, Myles Gaskin, Patrick Laird. Wide receiver, Parker, Preston Williams, Jakeem Grant, Isaiah Ford, Malcolm Perry, and Mac Hollins. And the reason why you do not see a Merritt or Matt Cole is because I believe one of the 2 or both of them will be A, protected, and B, you're going to see them on that 55-man as filling up one of those 2 slots. A receiver will fill up that slot because a guy like Matt Cole or Kirk Merritt, they can give you special team snaps too, not just receiver snaps. So, tight end, I got Mike Gesicki, Adam Shaheen, and Durham Smythe. I don't think we're going to bring Chandler Cox along, guys. It just doesn't seem like he's a necessity moving forward with what we're doing offensively. Offensive tackle, I have Austin Jackson, Jesse Davis, and Julian Davenport. Offensive guard, I have Flowers and Robert Hunt and Kinley and Shaq Calhoun because we need Shaq Calhoun or Danny Isidora. We need depth there. I basically traded offensive line depth for the 7th receiver. And, if we have an injury and Hunt has to transition, because it looks like right now he's shaping up to be guard. If you get an injury to a Davis and Hunt has to kick out, all of a sudden Kinley moves in to right guard. Now Calhoun is your depth guy there, and Dieter, who can play both. Other than that, you're kind of thin. I mean, you could kick Davenport inside if you really want to, I guess. But I do think Hunt is going to start the season as the number 2 guard in terms of I think he's going to be the right guard and Eric Flowers will be the left guard. There's a couple reasons. If you do the timeline with the training camp report before we kind of got this media blackout, they were really impressed with the last week of camp they got out of Robert Hunt, and it does sound like Solomon Kinley didn't have as strong as the second week as he did in the first week. On top of that, I think it's going to be politics as usual with it's a 30th overall pick. Get him out there. All right. So, and then at center, I have Karras and then obviously Michael Dieter backing him up. Now, before we move on to defense, your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I agree 100% with your with the depth chart. Shaq Calhoun, Danny Isidore, that's a coin flip for me.
Yeah.
They're both. I look at them.
I just liked Shaq Calhoun at the end of the season more last year than what I was seeing from when Danny Isidore was healthy from what I saw.
Yeah. Absolutely. You spot on, bro. 100%. I could see, I think as far as the 2 UDFAs with, Merritt or Mac or Cole, I just think Kirk Merritt, for him to be, day 1, week 1, for him to be on a 53-man roster, I just think he missed too many, practices. But I think he will. I agree 100% with you. He will be protected. They should. They better protect him.
I think him and Mac Cole will.
Yeah. Well, definitely Kirk Merritt. If you listen to Flo, you better put that protection on him. So I agree with you 100%. 100%.
Yeah, I think if I'm just looking at it, it makes sense. I think the only surprise for me is Chandler Cox because I heard he was trying to get reps at tight end, but if Durham Smythe is on the roster, and like many teams, the Dolphins don't carry a full-time fullback.
Yeah, and Roberts too.
It makes sense, and particularly, I was very high on Kirk Merritt, but you look at our wide receiver. I mean, it's pretty talented. Particularly,
I think they're going to carry 7 on game day under the 55. Yeah. I got to go by 53. I can't do 55, right? I would put Merritt, Jennings, or Cole in at that 7 slot. But put it as an asterisk, right? That's where I'm at.
I got you, and it's interesting how the wide receiver room has turned out. I think earlier we were thinking about leaning heavily on veterans like Albert Wilson, Allen Hurns, and now we're talking about guys like Malcolm Perry, Merritt, Jennings, and a gentleman I had slotted to work at Wingstop. A gentleman I have given titles such as Lemon Pepper Poppy and the Garlic Parmesan Prince. He appears to have it locked up as a wide receiver on week 1. So, let's once again take the application, give it to Kalen Ballage. He needs a job.
Yeah, but in all fairness, let's be honest, if Allen Hurns and Albert Wilson were here, we would be talking about 2 of the 3 between Isaiah Ford, Malcolm Perry, and Hollins being on the roster bubble right now and potentially getting cut.
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen. And with his durability concerns, he's never too far away from getting fitted for a shirt at Wingstop. But, he's performed, and we'll have to see in terms of injuries, how it shapes out for him. But, his talent has never been an issue. And probably the biggest surprise for me, and it's probably maybe the least consequential, is Durham Smythe. Once again, a guy I didn't even see slotted as being in the NFL. And to hear him making the strides he's made to make this roster, that's highly surprising for me. Durham Smythe over Chandler Cox, but hey, it makes sense from what the coaches are saying.
Just to go off your guys' point about Landon Roberts, Flores was actually asked, I believe it was yesterday, about Landon Roberts and playing fullback, and he said that right now the focus is on linebacker. So you don't really need a fullback in Chan Gailey's offense. So Rhino, any thoughts before I move on to the defense?
Yeah, my thought is Smythe, if you need a fullback, you can do that. if for some reason you want to do a package, it's good to see that. I think Dieter at some point will take over for Karras during the season. I think that's the plan, like we've talked about. I would take a little issue with Tua over Rosen at this point. I tend to believe that Flo is he's a very conservative coach. Rosen had a better preseason last year, and he started Fitzpatrick, and there was a little bit of controversy over that. I think that's his mindset.
He was right, though.
He was right, and it would not surprise me if it is Tua. But I really believe what EM says, and I've thought it from the beginning. It's very difficult to believe that he is really, really ready physically, even though he's doing great, before a year has gone by. I think you set yourself up as a franchise if you put him out there and he gets hurt before that year. Politics play a role in this, I think, and it would have to be unusual, I think, for him to go out there before that year. That's my feeling on that.
If you remember what were there, and EM, you'll remember it. They popped up right before training camp, and then they popped up before the pads came on when these guys were out there in helmets and underwear. It's popped up twice. What's popped up? That the sources have basically said that the feeling or the understanding is that they're aiming towards somewhere around December if they're going to start Tua. That's popped up a few times. So,
but if things happen, he could be there.
Yeah, you know what? I'll tell you right now, bro. If the leash is getting yanked, they're seeing what Tunga Tua has right away. They're not going to see what Tua has, and that's why I have him where he is on that depth chart. But I get where you're coming from.
I can't argue against that. That's fair.
Okay, so defense. So I got defensive end Emmanuel Ogbah, Shaq Lawson, Strobridge. I want to point out that Shaq Lawson and Ogbah can play defensive end in a 3-4, in a 4-3, or they could be the stand-up outside linebacker in a 3-4. But I put them under defensive end because they're going to looking at them being edge guys either way. Defensive tackle, I got Godcha, Christian Wilkins, Raekwon Davis, Zach Seiler, who was spoken up pretty highly today, like we covered. Linebacker, Van Noy and Van Ginkel, two guys who can also play the edge, right, in a 3-4. And then I got Landon Roberts and Jerome Baker, who I think are going to be seeing, Roberts is going to be primarily more seeing Mike reps. Kruger Hill is a guy who I think might get moved around a little bit because of his athleticism in terms of throughout that linebacker. Baker, you might see a little bit more Will reps this year because there's not a necessity for him to handle all the Mike responsibilities. I think Trent Harris has really surprised, really shown up and shown out since they brought him back, and they cut Avery Moss, but they didn't cut Trent Harris. So I think they like what he offers, especially as an outside linebacker in 3-4. And I think Sam Egwevine's going to continue to stick because not only can they use him in terms of, if there are injuries in their depth is obviously going to, we're already a little thin with Vince Beagle being lost already, right? So, and Sam can also contribute in special teams as well, like he did last year. So I do see him making the team. In our cornerback room, I might have a little bit of a controversy with the last one, but Byron Jones, Xavier Howard, Nick Needham, Noah Ignogany, Jamal Perry, and then I like Tay Hayes. I think Tay Hayes has shown a lot. I think he's shown more than Ken Webster. I think Tay Hayes, he can play the slot as well, just like Jamal Perry and Noah. From what we understand, those three have been getting a lot of the reps rotating as a nickel corner this past week. So I do think, and Tay Hayes, he's popped up on the reports, guys, a couple times with some picks. So I'm, I've
been hearing a lot of good things about him.
Yeah, man. So I'm going to put Tay Hayes in there. And then for safeties, we got obviously Roa starting, strong safety, McCain. It could be that starting free safety. Brandon Jones is going to probably play more in the box or nickel because he's been saying he's been playing everywhere, but he's also been taking reps at free safety. Kavon Frazier, if you guys watched his Zoom, he's really battling for one of those two safety spots depth-wise. So they've been using that free safety and strong safety. Plus, he's a great special teams player. And then Clayton Fledgelum, I think not only is our number one gunner on special teams, that's what we brought him here for, but you guys have seen it in the training camp reports when he's gotten reps. he's done something with them. So I think he's another guy who could see reps in the season as well. So, I mean, that's how I see the defense lining up right now. Your guys' thoughts?
Again, I agree 100%. Yeah, I mean, I can't argue any of your. I will say this though, in terms of like interior, when we opt to when we go to our base,
we're weak, in that interior. Besides Van Noy, like Robert, unless Robert shows up to what he's been,
right?
And it translates from practice, and same with Gruger Hill. We're weak in that middle. Besides Van Noy, because Van Ginkel to me is, he's the next best middle guy.
Yeah.
Because we haven't seen what Roberts is going to do yet.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's a level of uncertainty there. That's why I think, with Vince Beagle, with his injury, with him going down for the whole year, that's why I thought even before he got hurt, I thought maybe he would be deployed more off the ball. Him and Kyle Van Noy, because of the presence of Agba, Lawson, on the as far as edge players. Because I think ultimately when we go to our base, I do believe that Agba and Shaq Lawson will be our stand-up outside linebackers in this 3-4. I just think that's the best in terms of run support. Those two on the edge, and I look for Davis, Godchaux, and Wilkins to be our interior players. I just think that gives us the best in terms of run support. So Jerome Bakers of the world, your Gruber Hills of the world, I look at them as more sub-package type players. Obviously, Jerome Baker, they're going to give him another opportunity, to see how he can contribute, what he can contribute to this defense. I don't anticipate him being deployed as much as on the interior as he was last year. We saw how much of a disaster that was. So hopefully he he's got his weight up. He's got his strength up to where he can better get off blocks from these interior offensive linemen. Hopefully he's worked on that and cleaned up a lot of those issues that he had last year, but we won't know that until the season starts. But for the most part, man, 100%. I agree with everything else. I agree with it 100%, man.
I mean, it looks solid. I think, you could see some fluctuation in terms of Tay Hayes or perhaps Kavon Frazier, but it looks pretty solid to me. I think in regards to Noah Ignogany being a first round pick, number one, you have to look at the highest paid cornerback in the league is on our roster, so that's cute. That's
two of them.
Yeah, yes, that's quarterback one, and X ain't too far away. So, that's cornerback two.
And Needham proved he can shoulder cornerback one load last year, right?
So that's actually showing our depth at the cornerback position with our first round pick slot in that position. But he's going to be a very consequential part of our secondary this year.
And you know what's crazy, Havoc? Everyone who was calling Nick Needham out, you remember we go back to that first week, people were calling Nick Needham out, and I was up here telling everyone, y'all need to – I believe someone asked me, who would you start if X didn't play, Needham or Ignogany? And my answer was Nick Needham, and this is when everyone thought he was struggling. And if you see what Omar Kelly said today, Nick Needham has come on so strong in the last week that Omar Kelly said he's having one of the best camps out of all the corners.
I think he said the best.
And
he said he's looked the best.
And people were worried about him in week one, and I was out here saying, don't worry about this kid. This guy, I'm not lying to you or gassing you guys up. This kid has Pro Bowl potential. That is not a lie.
Yeah, he just needed to get his body right in terms of his nutrition, in terms of his he just needed to get it developed an NFL body. And if you see him, how ripped up this dude is now.
Looks a lot different.
Oh, he looks like a totally different player. Different player.
And I think
I just want to point out, Justin, we're not moving on from Jamal Perry. He's been from reports, he's been our best guy in the slot. Because they've only this past week started using Noah Ignogany in the slot more, but Jamal's been consistently over the past 2 weeks our best slot guy.
Yeah,
and Perry's versatility. He's a very versatile player. I mean, he can play any spot in secondary, both safety spots as well as on a boundary slot. So his versatility is valued in this scheme.
Yeah. You got any thoughts, Rhino?
I'm just really excited to see this experiment that Flo seems to be having with the defensive backs. I want to see how that's going to play out. How many what the lineman's going to be? How many linebackers with cornerbacks and defensive linemen? It's really interesting.
I'm not surprised that we're hearing Ignogany and Jamal Perry are probably going to start off the season getting the most slot snaps, because if you guys remember, I said, and EM can attest to this, when we drafted him, I said, he needs to get better ball skills. He needs to turn his head to the ball better. He needs to get less handsy. He needs to develop that in the first year in the slot, because he's not going to get the boundary reps with Howard and Jones on this team. And Needham right behind them. So it's nice to see that even Ignogany showed up and showed out in that first week. They've realized that between Jones, Howard, and Needham, he's best suited to get the most work that he possibly can, probably in the slot this year, with Jamal Perry and him being the two guys that are really handling most of that work.
Yeah, I'm with you, Rhino. I can't wait to what I will be looking for on the defensive side of the football, more so than anything, is the personnel groupings, how he's going to deploy all of these players.
The magic.
And if you recall, I noticed on Omar's last X's and Omar's, he said on his show that he said, well, I don't think the Dolphins are going to kill me for releasing this information. But he said he saw a personnel group with 4 cornerbacks. Okay?
Yeah, they were using 4 or 5 cornerback groups.
And he said
for a couple days there. It was going on for a couple days. Yeah.
He said no safeties, 4 cornerbacks. And what did I say would be what if you go back to when we signed Ignogany after that, our post-draft show, I said, what did I say? I said I can envision Flores implementing packages with all 4 cornerbacks, our top guys.
Yeah, because
look at Howard.
They're all too good.
X is the size of a safety.
Exactly.
I think particularly people when training camp first started, and you hear about the Jakeem Grants of the world having great days and guys getting bombed on, and one, important to notice, one is practice, but number 2, these aren't like real scrimmages. Like these aren't like real game. Like they try to simulate game-like situations, but the scrimmages is really what it is. And when you hear reports of guys like Byron Jones getting toasted, and I always thought, like, once the scrimmages start, it's gonna be a whole different type of energy. Because in those first few weeks, guys like Byron Jones with contracts, they just going through the motions. They just making sure they got their assignments right. But when the scrimmages start happening and guys start playing a little bit, that's when you see the dog come out in these guys.
And after that second practice, Jakeem Grant has been on the milk carton. You ain't heard from him since, bro.
So just to round out my team, the last 3 players are, obviously Jason Sanders, the kicker, Matt Hack, the punter, and then Blake Ferguson as our long snapper. So that's my prediction. And I pretty much, honestly, I did this without EM, but I did this in a way that I pretty much knew EM was going to agree with everything. I kind of thought both of our minds would. So that's why I'm not – EM hadn't seen this, guys, before I dropped it right now. So great minds think alike.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, man, just going over the offense against guys. I got quarterback Fitzpatrick, Tungwaloa Rosen, running back Howard, Breda, Gaskin, Laird, wide receiver Parker Williams, Grant, Ford, Perry, and Hollins. But the thing is, guys, I do believe because this is a 53, we'll be able to hold 55. We'll be able to carry 55 on the active roster on Sundays. I do believe a Merritt, Cole, or potentially Gary Jennings will slot in as a 7th on game day because then they could be protected and sent right back to the practice squad. Our tight ends, Gesicki, Shaheen, Smythe. Offensive tackles, Jackson, Davis, Davenport. Offensive guards, Flowers, Hunt, Kinley, Calhoun. Hunt starting based off of the capital they invested in the second week. Apparently he had a really good second week. Karras and Dieter are your centers. Your defensive ends are Ogba and Lawson, Strobridge. Again, I want to stress Ogba and Lawson can stand up as outside linebackers in the 3-4. So don't just limit them to defensive ends in a 3-4 base as well on the interior. Godchild, Wilkins, Davis, and Seiler as your defensive tackles. Again, in a 3-4, Wilkins could be slid to the right end. Same with Davis. They could be playing. Davis could be playing nose as well as Godchild. Linebacker, Vandoya, Van Ginkel, 2 guys who can also slot out as outside linebackers in that 3-4, come off the edge. Roberts, who seems he's going to be more of a Mike role. Gruger Hill, who could move around from Mike to Will because of his athleticism. Baker, who you could see taking on more Will responsibilities. Trent Harris, who's more of a Will than a Mike. And Sam Ignogany, who's more of a Mike than a Will. Cornerbacks, Byron Jones, Xavier Howard, Nick Needham, Noah Ignogany, Jamal Perry, and Tay Hayes. Safeties, Eric Rowe, Bobby McCain, Brandon Jones, Kevon Frazier, and Clayton Fledglam. And like I just said, Jason Sanders, Matt Hack, and Blake Ferguson round out the special teams. So we're about to hit the 2-hour mark, guys. Let's go through final thoughts here. EM, I'll come back around to you. So we'll start off with you, Rhino. Final thoughts.
Yeah, we're curious to see if we're going to still be on media shutdown here for the next few days. I hope we are and hope we get some more information. But things are shaping up, it looks like. And I'm really excited. 8 days away from football, 11 days from Dolphins football. Go Fins.
I mean, it appears that, they are segueing into their preparations for week 1. They know, or at least have a good idea of what their roster situation is going to be. And for right now, it appears that the priority is on, making sure Fitzpatrick and the ones are prepared for week 1. Clearly there are some positions that still need to be, battled out a little bit, but it's looking good so far. It's good to see that, we can actually slot in our defense before the season, as opposed to, hoping to pick up guys during the season. So it's a total 180 from last season. And, we're in a way better position than last season. That's just a fact.
Absolutely.
That's a fact.
There was so much uncertainty last year. We didn't know what we were getting. When we signed Fitzpatrick last year, we didn't know what we were getting with him. Again, like we talked about all year, we were, bringing guys in from Lowe's on Tuesday, having them work out on Friday, and starting them on Sundays. Glad that whole situation, what transpired last year, we don't have to deal with that going into this season. But I feel very comfortable on both sides of the football. I truly do. I think it might be, as far as our offensive line is concerned, it might take a little while for them to, to get up to speed, to get that continuity, to get their communication established. And once that happens, I truly think that, we can establish a running game. I think that's going to be beneficial for our team overall. But I'm very comfortable about the defense, our secondary, our linebackers, our front seven as a whole. So, it's close. It'll be here before you know it. And just excited, man. Football season is upon us. Y'all already know what time it is.
And NYC Kane asks any bubble guys. Well, for me, Brandon Bryant could be a bubble guy behind Zach Seiler. With Tay Hayes, you could make the argument about Ken Webster, Shaq Calhoun. We talked about Shaq Calhoun and Danny Astora, basically.
Jones.
Yeah, Benito Jones is a bubble guy, but I think he'll get protected on the practice squad. There are bubble guys. I don't think Tyshawn Render's a bubble guy. I don't think he's making it. But here's the deal, guys. If some news breaks tomorrow or something comes through crazy, I'm sure we'll probably be back at night. But if not, you can expect us back on Friday. And we'll be rocking it. I don't know what EM's situation is, but maybe we'll rock a little Madden. I'm still trying to hammer out a date with Josh Tolentino of the Athletic guys, but I got an announcement to make. We got 120 in the room. Next Wednesday night, guys, you're going to want to be tuned in right here, 9 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be Reason, EMdolphinfan, Dudley Do Wrong, Mr. Ballgame, Great One DeVore, Dante Colinelli, and Paul from On the Phinside. And we're going to basically be doing a regular season roundtable preview. So y'all are going to really want to tune into that next Wednesday at 9 o'clock, guys. Locked in. And Josh Tolentino, he will be coming on sooner rather than later. Just again, figuring out a date. But we'll be back Friday night. And then next week's a big week, guys. Next week's a big week because after that Wednesday show, we're going to have something special with our Friday show that we're going to be bringing to you guys weekly during the season. So you're going to want to be here on Friday night at 9 Eastern as well. And then, guys, Sunday, half hour, 40 minutes after the first Dolphins game on September 13th.
It's here.
Your boy Reason and EMdolphinfan will be going live for a post-game show where the first 30, 45 minutes will be us recapping it, giving our analysis, and then we'll be opening up the show to all of you to come on and vent about the loss or celebrate the victory, and that'll be weekly, people. So, guys, I'm telling you, we got some big things on the horizon, and then we got some other shows that these guys on the panel know about that we got ideas in the holsters, but we're not going to drop them because we know how some of these people in the YouTube community work. But we got some things rolling for this season too. So, guys, I'm telling you, this Wednesday show, our weekly Friday show that's going to be coming through the regular season, that'll be starting next week, and that post-game show on Sundays, you're going to be wanting to be tuned right in to Phinside the NFL, guys.
Yes, sir.
Number one, fastest growing Dolphins channel on YouTube right now. And, man, we're bringing you some of the best information and some of the best content, and it's only going to get better because guess what, guys? You guys have seen what we've done with minuscule amounts of information we've been given in training camp. Imagine what we're going to be able to do when we got information overload, people. You're going to want to tune in for that. So, again, we'll be back Friday night. I'll hype all that stuff over again. But until then, guys, unless something big breaks tomorrow night, we'll be back Friday night and appreciate each and every one of you. Fins up, and we'll see you guys Friday night.
All day, every day. Be